Banished from Earth, Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room for the review of Championship Pro Wrestling on the Sega SG-1000 from 1985. It's an interesting game. Let's check it out. Silly fool, it's Champion Pro Wrestling, not Championship Pro Wrestling. Big difference. Moron. Welcome to the first Classic Game Room Mark III review of a game being played on the Sega Mark III. This is Champion Pro Wrestling for the Sega SG-1000. The Mark III is backwards compatible. This Mark is future compatible. Although I might need an update in 2085, Champion Pro Wrestling came out 100 years earlier in 1985. It's a wrestling game, not to be confused with Pro Wrestling on the Sega Master System, though. Different games. I really can't find out much about this one online. Admittedly, I know next to nothing about wrestling, but I do respect a well-cared-for flamboyant mullet, which is why I'm playing as that guy in this super old-school wrestling game that doesn't play like you think it does. Even though this looks like an old-school fighting game, it actually has more in common with a JRPG. You choose your move, and then grab your opponent and execute the move. Or try to dropkick them, which usually ends with you landing on your ass. Pushing the right button on your Mark III or Sega SG-1000 controller will cycle between your available moves. Pushing the left button will pull off the move, and you don't have very many to choose from. There's no leveling up or magic chests or swords or chicks with blue hair or anything. It's old school wrestling, and that's what it is. This is such a literal review. I'm just explaining how the game plays because, frankly, I don't understand it. I don't understand why. You select your move with the right button and try to avoid being hit. And just when you think you have an opening, you push the attack button and maybe pull off your move. If you don't, then you lose your try and you have to select your move again, which is of course somewhat awkward, and maybe it made a lot more sense in the arcades. I can't find out much about this game online except that it originated as an old school arcade game in Japan. As you can see, you're scoring points along the way. If you can finish your opponent off quickly, you get some big bonus points. And after winning 2 rounds, as we make our way to the next match, it gets more challenging, but no less frustrating. I'm just not sure what to make of this one. It looks nice, but I feel like maybe something's being lost in translation here. It's like I'm playing one of those Japanese RPG racing games. They look cool, I just don't get them. So is there something about this control scheme that's fun for other people, maybe 30 years ago, or is it just not good? I don't know. I'm at a loss with this one. It's like a Japanese experimental wrestling game from the 80s. If that sounds appealing to you, well then there you go, Champion Pro Wrestling. For the Sega SG-1000, in the single-player mode, you control the dude with the mullet. In 2-player, your friend can play as the guy with the mask, who's got a spin kick, but is no more playable than the other guy. It's an odd game, yet interesting. And I've got a Classic Game Room shout out and thank you to send to Mark and Suzanne from East Meadow, New York once again. Thank you for sending Champion Pro Wrestling to this show. I think it says something that boxing on the Atari 2600 is more playable than this, but then again, like I said, I'm not sure I get it. The belt looks nice. It's Champion Pro Wrestling, which is not nearly as much fun as Cyberbots. You are champion!